Bekasi, West Java, a simple house on the outskirts of town. From the outside, nothing seemed suspicious. A married couple lived there, a young couple seemingly harmonious, neighbors said. But who would have thought, behind the husband's smile and the wife's tenderness, a dark mystery began to lurk. Her name is Lina Kartika, 31 years old. She is a housewife, known for her friendliness, active participation in religious studies, and a deep affection for her only child. Her husband, Arif Maulana, 35, works as an electrical technician, is quiet, and rarely attends community gatherings. For the past 6 months, Lina had been complaining of frequent illnesses. She experienced headaches, nausea, and sometimes vomiting blood. She went to numerous doctors, but no definitive diagnosis was ever found. The diagnosis kept changing: gastritis, stomach ulcers, stress, and even fatigue. But one thing was odd. Every time she ate at home, her condition worsened. But when she ate out or at her parents' house, Lina felt better. Is it just a coincidence? Or is there something in the food he cooked himself? Or that was cooked for him? Then one night, Lina collapsed in the bathroom. She was rushed to the hospital, unconscious, and from there, the investigation led to a startling possibility. Is this a natural disease or a slow-motion murder plot? Stay tuned for this story, because the truth will be revealed through small, almost invisible traces. That morning, after Lina was admitted to the intensive care unit at Bekasi General Hospital, the doctor on duty made an unusual note. Lina experienced rapid and unnatural internal organ damage. Her stomach was injured, and her kidneys were beginning to weaken. Despite having no prior history of chronic illness, she had no history of any serious illness. Doctors began to suspect something, especially after initial lab results indicated heavy metals in Lina's body. However, the type wasn't clear. Further toxicology tests were needed at that time. The doctor only advised the family one thing: report it to the police. Lina's younger sister, Dina Kartika, who had sensed something was amiss from the start, immediately took action. She filed a report with the Bekasi Metro Police. My sister is not just sick. She feels like she's been poisoned, and it's been going on for a long time. The police immediately stepped in. The first step: checking Lina and Arif's kitchen, and there, in the corner of an unkempt spice rack, a small, unlabeled bottle was found. It contained a clear, odorless liquid. But when the officer touched it with a rapid test kit, indications of arsenic were detected. Who put it there? Why is it in the house? And since when? No one knows, but one thing is starting to become clear. This is no longer a medical case. It's a criminal case, and the perpetrator could be someone living under the same roof. Did Arif know about the liquid? Or did he put it in himself? The truth remains shrouded in mystery, but the first steps of the investigation have begun. As police began investigating the case, Arif Maulana, the husband, became the primary focus. Not because of any direct evidence, but because of his cool demeanor. No panic. No apparent concern. Just silence. While Lina lay critically ill in the hospital, Arif continued working as usual. He rarely visited her. He didn't cry. He didn't ask the doctor many questions. Maybe he's just a calm person, some thought. But for investigators, this was the first alarm. The police then confiscated Arif's cell phone for examination. The result? Dozens of messages have been deleted. Private chats with someone named R no longer stored. But digital forensics can't lie. With special tools, some message contents were successfully recovered, and the contents are astonishing. I gave him another one today, but he hasn't fainted yet. If you do it slowly, you won't notice. Just so he looks like he's just in pain. Who is R? What does love again mean? And most suspiciously, why did Arif need to erase all the evidence? Dina, Lina's younger sister, who was informed by the police about the contents of the message, could only cry. I've suspected it for a long time. He's changed. Sister Lina often said that Arif was getting colder and less attentive. And this is just the beginning. Because Arif isn't just keeping the message a secret, but also about someone from his past. Who is he? And how does he fit into the story? Slow, mysterious narrative, revealing layer by layer. Police began to investigate further. Who is R in Arif's chat? Through tracking of the phone number, the identity of R was revealed. Her name is Rani Wolandari, a 29-year-old woman who works at an online cosmetics store. Not his wife, not his relative, not his colleague. But, based on their communication history, the two had been in a relationship for over a year. Ronnie is Arif's ex-girlfriend. And what's even more surprising, they were still secretly dating even though Arif was married to Lena. When called for questioning, Ronnie initially cried. "I don't know about the poison. I only know Arif said he wasn't happy with his wife." But investigators know there is something hidden. A motive slowly emerged. Arif wanted freedom, but divorce would cost him much. His house, custody of his children, and even his reputation. And perhaps poison is a shortcut. Silently, slowly, without easily visible traces. But all cunning plans inevitably leave traces, and those traces are starting to be discovered. Police examined Arif's digital transactions over the past 6 months. One interesting finding: online purchases from an anonymous marketplace account, with transaction records for laboratory chemical goods. The item ordered: high dose, organic pesticide, for research purposes only. The description is vague. However, the active ingredients are arsenic and lead, two deadly poisons if used long-term. The item was sent to a familiar address, Arif and Lena's home address. Physical evidence was later found. The delivery receipt was still stored in Arif's desk drawer. The recipient's number? Maulana. Can't deny it anymore. Arif was finally questioned intensively, but with a straight face, he said, "That was for spraying pests in the back garden. I didn't poison anyone." But the garden in question was just a small plot of land with weeds. No plants. No gardening. Then why was the poison purchased? Continue to part 06. The little witness who saw it all. Amidst the investigation that continues to point to Arif, an unexpected voice emerges, a small witness. Silent all this time, but apparently seeing more than anyone realized. His name is Raka. He's 7 years old. Arif and Lena's only child. Too young to know the meaning of poison, but honest enough to tell his story without a filter. When asked by a child psychologist under police supervision, Raka said innocently, "Dad often puts white powder in Mom's food, but Mom can't see it. Dad says it's medicine so Mom won't get so angry. But every time Mom eats, she throws up and then sleeps for a long time." Everyone fell silent. Raka's statement is significant, not only because of its content, but because it happens repeatedly and only when Lena eats home-cooked meals, prepared or served by Arif himself. Police then examined the kitchen equipment. Several cookware items showed chemical residue, according to laboratory tests. All the little pieces of evidence started to fit together, and the innocent voice of a child, it might be the final piece of this big puzzle. However, one question now turns to the other side. Was Arif truly alone in this plan? Or were there others involved in orchestrating this tragic outcome? Continue to part 07. Conversations saved in the cloud. After Raka's evidence opened investigators' eyes, police retraced Arif's digital footprint. This time, their focus wasn't on his phone, but on automatic cloud storage, a place where many people forget they ever saved anything. Arif's Google account, which previously appeared clean, was linked to a backup archive of messages and photos from the past 2 years. And inside, dozens of screenshots and voice recordings. One of the 58-second recordings, which was recorded automatically by the app's backup feature. Male voice: "Don't be afraid, take it slow. If I do it all at once, they'll find out." Female voice: "But I'm scared, sir. What if he finds out?" Male voice: "He won't find out. I've already studied the dosage." That was Arif's voice, and the woman's voice wasn't Lena's. A voice forensic expert confirmed. It was Ronnie's voice. Arif's ex-girlfriend, and now strongly suspected of being an accomplice in the attempted murder. The conversation was automatically recorded by a cloud-connected app. Arif wasn't aware of it, but it was saved, and that's what saved the truth. Now, the status of the investigation has changed. It is not just an attempted murder by the husband, but also involves a third party. This case is no longer about love gone cold. It's starting to look like a well-orchestrated conspiracy. Continue to part 08. Ronnie arrested. Shocking confession after audio evidence from the cloud corroborated the suspicion of third-party involvement. Police acted swiftly. Ronnie Wulandari, Arif's ex-girlfriend, was arrested at her boarding house in South Tambun. At first, Ronnie cried, claiming she knew nothing about the poison. But when the audio recording played in front of her, her tears stopped. Her face turned pale. I just obeyed. He's the one who said Lena was an obstacle in our lives. Ronnie's confession shocked everyone. He admitted to helping purchase poison online, using his own account, and then sending it to Arif's address under an assumed name. He also admitted to mixing poison into Lena's food when she visited him, claiming to be bringing gifts. Ronnie wasn't paid. She wasn't threatened. She simply fell deeply in love with a man she claimed his wife no longer loved. Arif said Lena was the source of his stress. He just wanted me to be happy. I thought if Lena left, we could start a new life. But happiness built on lies and poison is never truly born. Now, both are facing a serious charge: attempted premeditated murder, and this case has become a national spotlight. However, the investigation isn't over yet, because there's one thing left unanswered. How did Arif know the dosage of poison? Where did he learn to make death appear like illness? An investigative, gripping narrative that reveals the dark world of the internet. As the case begins to unravel, one big question still haunts investigators. How did Arif know how to poison himself without being quickly detected by doctors? It's not just about dangerous substances, but also about microdosing, mixing in daily food, and manipulating medical symptoms. The digital investigation expanded. The Jakarta Metropolitan Police's cyber team traced Arif's online activity, specifically his social media accounts, anonymous emails, and browser history stored on synced devices. And the results are astonishing. Arif connected to a dark forum overseas. Using a VPN and a pseudonym on one thread, he asked in English how to use arsenic slowly over months without getting caught, best food to mix it in without taste. Replies on the forum provided detailed instructions. One user even shared a complete guide to stealth assassination in PDF format. And that file, it turns out, was downloaded by Arif. Open file folder file found on his work laptop. Slow_toxin_methods_3 PDF contents. List of chemicals that are difficult to detect, microdoses for the human body based on body weight, tips to create symptoms like natural diseases, ulcers, typhus, kidney failure, how to store poison so that it does not become contaminated by air. All the methods in that file match Lena's symptoms. The investigation came to an irrefutable conclusion. This was not a spontaneous act. This was a premeditated, scientific, cold, and calculated murder. But one emotional question remains unanswered. Does Arif really not love Lena at all? Or has that love turned into a deadly revenge? The day of the first trial in the premeditated murder case finally arrived. The Bekasi District Court building was packed with media crews, family members, and curious residents. Arif Maulana arrived with a cold expression, dressed in a neat black suit. Beside him was Ronnie Wulandari, who now looked tired and full of regret. The judge opened the trial firmly. This case, which has shocked the Bekasi community, has become a national spotlight. The public prosecutor began reading the indictment. The defendants Arif Maulana and Ronnie Wulandari were charged with attempted premeditated murder of Lena Kartika, the wife of the defendant Arif. During the trial, a lot of evidence was presented. Deleted chat messages, voice recordings in the cloud, proof of purchasing poison, and even the testimony of Raka, the little boy. But most touching was Lena's testimony, which was present in person in the courtroom. With a trembling voice, she recounted the suffering and betrayal she had experienced. The atmosphere of the trial turned very emotional when Lena mentioned Arif's name with great pain. Meanwhile, Arif's defense tried to deny all the accusations, saying that Lena's illness was purely natural and the evidence was not strong enough. But the public and media have already rendered their verdict. Is Arif truly guilty? Or is there another truth yet to be revealed? A narrative full of psychological tension, exploring the dark side of motives and revenge. The trial continues, and the facts begin to reveal another side of the case, the old grudge hidden behind Arif's facade. Several witnesses from family and neighbors revealed a story, rarely known to the public. Arif apparently experienced a childhood filled with stress and violence from his father. He grew up with deep emotional wounds, which may have affected his behavior and emotions within the household. The witness also revealed that Arif and Lena's relationship wasn't always smooth sailing. They had arguments after arguments, often bottled up without resolution. Furthermore, evidence was found that Arif had made subtle threats to Lena via text message, which had been hidden all this time. All of this opens up a new face. It's not just a case of premeditated murder, but also a psychological war in a fragile household. Was it this old grudge that drove Arif to poison his wife? Or were there other pressures that triggered this tragedy? This case reminds us that broken love can be the deadliest poison. Continue to part 13. The secret letter that reveals the veil. A narrative full of mystery and emotion, revealing hidden secrets. As the trial escalated, a shocking discovery emerged. A secret letter was found among Lena's belongings that had been confiscated by the police. The letter was written in black ink, neatly, yet full of emotion. It was addressed to someone he simply referred to as friend. The contents of the letter. I feel trapped in a life of pretense. Arif is no longer the husband I once loved. There's something dark and frightening he's hiding that I'm scared. But I also want to protect Raka, and I want to get out of all this. The letter revealed Lena's long-held fear, a cry of the heart that had been hidden from the world. Investigators immediately confronted Arif with the letter. His reaction was cold, almost as if he were prepared for anything. However, the letter marked a turning point in the case, proving that Lena was conscious and trying to fight back, albeit helplessly. The letter is also an important tool for prosecutors to strengthen their charges. The trial grew increasingly heated. Evidence after evidence was presented, but Arif continued to try to cover his tracks. However, it wasn't easy to cover up the truth that was already starting to become clear. The forensic team presented the latest laboratory test results. Food and drinks prepared at Arif's home were found to contain small doses of poison. Lena's clothing was also found to contain hazardous chemical residue. In addition, investigators revealed that there were differences in Arif's statements on various occasions, sometimes contradictory and changing. Witnesses began to see a different side of Arif that had been hidden. From neighbors who heard loud arguments at night, to co-workers who had warned Lena about her husband's change in behavior. All the signs are starting to form a clear picture. There's been a big lie being covered up, and the truth is slowly coming to light. Now, the judge and jury must determine whether Arif is guilty, based on the facts revealed. Continue to part 15, Cries in the Courtroom. The trial entered an emotionally charged stage. Lena, her voice trembling and her eyes welling with tears, recounted the ordeal she had endured. Every word she uttered filled the courtroom with silence and emotion. I don't wish this on anyone, she said. Love is supposed to protect, not hurt. But I was poisoned by the person I loved. Lena's tears moved many, not only her family and witnesses, but also most of the audience. Meanwhile, Arif sat silently, his face showing no discernible emotion. Was it regret or a deep, frozen heart? Outside the courtroom, the media and the public continued to follow the case with rapt attention. This story is not just about physical poison, but also about the poison of betrayal and revenge. Continue to part 16. Expert witness reveals the facts. The trial deepened as forensic and toxicology experts testified. They detailed how arsenic and other heavy metals work in the human body. Expert witnesses revealed the fact that poison in small, repeated doses can cause organ damage that is difficult to detect initially. The symptoms that appear are often mistaken for common illnesses. The poisoning process is slow, leaving the victim in prolonged agony before a definitive diagnosis. They also explained the forensic methods used to detect traces of poison in Lena's blood and body tissues. This expert witness testimony strengthens the evidence that what Lena experienced was not an accident or natural illness, but rather the result of deliberate poisoning. Their presentation became an important point for the prosecutor to emphasize that Arif and Ronnie had committed a planned and structured act. The trial then entered the stage of determining the fate of the perpetrator based on irrefutable scientific evidence. Continue to part 17. Shocking. Confession in front of the judge. As the trial grew increasingly heated, Arif's time arrived to testify. Sitting before the judge, Arif appeared tense, occasionally looking down and then lifting his head in a deep and regretful voice. He uttered a sentence that shook the courtroom. I admit everything that happened. I was the one who poisoned Lena, but not to kill her, just to get her out of my life. This confession immediately caused a commotion. The prosecutor, the judge, and everyone present fell silent. Arif explained that he felt trapped by the pressures of life, feeling his love turning into hatred. However, he claimed he didn't mean to kill, just wanted to get away. Meanwhile, Ronnie remained silent, but her gaze revealed a mixture of guilt and fear. Arif's confession marked a turning point in the trial. Now, everyone awaits the judge's decision. Will this confession lighten his sentence, or will it increase his burden? Continue to Part 18. The judge's dilemma and the wait for the verdict after Arif's shocking confession. The judge faced a serious dilemma. This case was not just a legal matter, but also a complex family tragedy. The judge must weigh between justice for Lena and her family, the weight of the evidence that has been revealed. The perpetrator's confession was full of regret, and the potential for a second chance for a lost human being to die in the courtroom. The atmosphere was silent. Lena's family waited expectantly, while Arif and Ronnie sat anxiously. Waiting for the verdict is not only about punishment, but also about the truth that must be recognized. Outside the courtroom, the public waited. The case became a hot topic, sparking debates about love, betrayal, and justice. Who will win? A love that once existed or a grudge that ends in death? The long-awaited day arrived. The courtroom was packed with media personnel, families, and citizens eager to see justice done. The judge entered the courtroom with a stern expression. The atmosphere fell silent. Everyone awaited the sentence that would determine Arif and Ronnie's fate. After hearing all the facts, evidence, and testimony, the judge finally decided. The defendants Arif Maulana and Ronnie Wulandari were found guilty of attempted premeditated murder of Lena Kartika. The verdict was met with mixed reactions. Some expressed relief, some surprise, and some sadness. Arif and Ronnie were sentenced to severe punishment in accordance with the applicable law, as a form of justice for the victim and his family. But this verdict isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a process of healing, learning, and rebuilding one's life. The people of Bekasi and Indonesia witnessed how a love story that turned into poison ultimately had to be paid dearly. Continue to Part 20. Life after the verdict. After the verdict was handed down, Lena and Raka's lives changed forever. Lena began her physical and mental recovery with enthusiasm. The support of her family and friends was her main strength. Raka, still a child, tries to understand what is happening around him. He grows up with a sense of loss and new hope. While Arif and Ronnie were serving their sentences, the Bekasi community began discussing the importance of maintaining family harmony and being alert to signs of hidden violence. This case serves as a lesson for many, that love without honesty and respect can turn into a poison that slowly destroys. However, behind all the wounds, there is new hope for a better future. Thank you for following the story of the wife poisoning case in Bekasi. Love or revenge? Don't forget to always care and be aware of the people around us. After the verdict, Lena and Raka began a long journey to rebuild their lives. They slowly tried to repair their shattered trust, not in Arif, but in themselves and the world around them. Lena underwent psychological therapy to recover from deep trauma. She learned to open her heart and strengthen herself so she wouldn't be held back by the past. Raka also began to adapt to new conditions, learning from the events he had experienced, and receiving guidance to grow emotionally healthy. Extended family and friends are important pillars, providing unconditional love and support. Even though the wounds have not completely disappeared, there is hope that they can live a stronger and more meaningful life.